the shocking reality: most people have never been adults. What if I told you that most people you see walking around working jobs, paying bills, raising families have never actually been adults? That despite their age, their responsibilities, and their outward appearance, they are still trapped in a mindset that they never outgrew. It sounds insane, right? But the shocking reality is that adulthood is not something that happens automatically. It is not granted simply because you turn 18, get a job, or move out of your parents' house. True adulthood is a psychological transformation, one that most people never actually go through. Think about it. What defines being an adult? Is it responsibility? Independence? Wisdom? If that were the case, then why do so many people live their entire lives blaming others for their problems, avoiding accountability, and running from discomfort? Why do so many people still seek approval like children desperate for validation? Why do so many people build their lives not based on what they truly want, but on what they were conditioned to believe they should want? The truth is, most people never transition beyond the emotional framework of childhood. They may grow older, but they do not grow up. They continue to operate from the same fears, the same insecurities, the same need for external validation that they had as children. They still seek permission to speak their minds, permission to take risks, permission to live as they truly desire. They are ruled by invisible authorities, whether it's their parents' expectations, societal norms, or the fear of judgment from people who don't even matter. And because of this, they live their lives in a carefully constructed illusion of maturity, never realizing that they are still playing the same psychological games they played as kids. But here's the scariest part: society is built to keep you in this state. From the moment you are born, you are trained to obey, to conform, to fit inside a structure that someone else designed for you. You are given rules, expectations, and beliefs that you are never encouraged to question. You are taught to follow the path that has already been laid out: go to school, get a job, get married, buy a house, retire. And if you deviate from this script, you are made to feel like you are doing something wrong.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
And so, most people never question it. They follow the script, they play their roles, they try to be good by the standards they were given. But deep down, something feels off. There is an emptiness, a quiet dissatisfaction, a feeling that no matter how much they achieve, something is missing. And that's because they never actually chose their lives. They simply followed the path that was handed to them. So, ask yourself, have you really become an adult, or have you just gotten older? Have you truly taken control of your life, or are you still living according to a blueprint that was given to you? What decisions in your life were made because you wanted them, and what decisions were made because you thought you should want them? These are not easy questions to answer, but they are necessary. Because until you confront the possibility that you have never truly stepped into adulthood, you will remain trapped in an illusion that keeps you from ever living life on your own terms. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear: to truly become an adult, you must be willing to destroy the version of yourself that was built by others. You must be willing to tear down the beliefs, the fears, the expectations that were programmed into you and rebuild yourself from the ground up. This is the hardest thing a person can do, which is why so few ever do it. But those who do, those who truly break free, become something incredibly rare: individuals who are no longer controlled by the invisible forces that keep the rest of the world asleep. So, the question is, are you ready to wake up? Or will you continue walking through life in a dream, mistaking age for wisdom, comfort for fulfillment, and obedience for growth? Because the moment you truly see the illusion for what it is, there is no going back. Breaking the cycle. Why most people are just children in disguise. If you look carefully, you'll start to notice something disturbing. The world is not run by adults, it is run by children in grown-up bodies, playing roles they never truly chose. You see it in the way people react emotionally, unable to control themselves when things don't go their way. You see it in the way they seek validation, desperate to be liked, to be accepted, to be told they are doing the right thing. You see it in the way they avoid discomfort, choosing the illusion of safety over the reality of growth. And the most shocking part, they don't even realize it. Most people do not think for themselves. They inherit their beliefs from their parents, their culture, their education, and they never stop to question whether those beliefs are actually true. They follow the same traditions, the same habits, the same fears that were programmed into them as children, and never realizing that they are simply repeating patterns they never chose. They get offended easily, they argue over meaningless things, they react instead of thinking, and they mistake their emotions for reality. This is not adulthood, this is childhood extended indefinitely, disguised by jobs, responsibilities, and the illusion of maturity. But here's what separates those who truly grow up from those who don't: the ability to take full responsibility for oneself. Most people avoid this at all costs. They blame their circumstances, their past, other people, the government, the economy, anything to avoid the painful truth that their life is a direct reflection of their own choices. They want to believe they are victims, because being a victim means they don't have to change. It means they can stay comfortable, even if that comfort is slowly destroying them. But responsibility is the only true path to freedom. The moment you stop blaming, the moment you stop making excuses, the moment you stop waiting for someone else to fix your life, you step into a power that most people will never experience. You realize that every belief, every reaction, every limitation you have is something that you allow to exist. And if you allow it, you can also change it. But change is painful, and that's why most people avoid it. They would rather stay in their familiar misery than face the discomfort of real transformation. And that's why they never become adults. They just become older versions of their younger selves, more bitter, more fearful, more stuck. They tell themselves they are wise because they have experience, but experience means nothing if you haven't learned from it. Wisdom does not come from age, it comes from the willingness to question everything, especially yourself. It comes from the ability to detach from your ego, to admit when you are wrong, to destroy the parts of yourself that are holding you back. So, the real question is, have you actually grown up? Or are you just pretending? Are your beliefs truly your own, or are they just hand-me-down ideas you never questioned? Do you react like a child when things don't go your way, or do you have the discipline to remain calm, to think clearly, to act with intention? Do you take full responsibility for your life, or do you still secretly believe that something outside of you is responsible for your happiness, your success, your growth? Most people will never ask themselves these questions because the answers are uncomfortable. But if you are willing to face them, if you are willing to go through the pain of breaking free from the illusions you were given, you will enter a world that most people never see. A world where you are not controlled by fear. A world where you make decisions based on truth, not conditioning. a world where you do not seek permission because you have given it to yourself. And that is the moment you stop being just another person playing the role of an adult and truly become one. But only if you are ready to face the truth, the death of the false self. Why adulthood requires destroying who you thought you were there comes a moment if you are brave enough when you realize that the person you have been your entire life is not actually you. It is a construction, a carefully assembled mask made up of expectations, fears, and inherited beliefs. It is the version of you that society shaped, the version that learned to fit in, to obey, to avoid discomfort. And if you are not careful, you will spend your entire life living as this false self, never once questioning whether it is who you were meant to be. Most people never escape it. They cling to the identity they were given, even when it suffocates them. But they believe they are their thoughts, their emotions, their past experiences. They mistake their habits for personality, their fears for wisdom, their limitations for reality. They do not see that the person they think they are is simply a collection of patterns molded by a world that never had their best interests at heart. And because of this, they remain trapped in a life they never consciously chose, playing a role they never agreed to. But real adulthood, the kind that few ever reach, requires something terrifying: the willingness to kill that false self, to strip away everything that was placed on you, everything you were taught to believe, everything you assumed was true about yourself. It requires looking at your life with brutal honesty and asking, who am I really? Not who I was told to be, not who I became to survive, not who I pretend to be, but who I am underneath all of it. This is not an easy process, but in fact, it is one of the most painful things a human being can go through. Because when you start tearing down the illusions, you realize how much of your life has been built on lies. You realize that the dreams you were chasing were never truly yours, that the fears holding you back were never real, that the things you thought defined you, your job, your relationships, your status, were just distractions from the deeper truth. You have always been something far greater than what the world allowed you to believe. And this is where most people turn back. They see the cracks in their identity, they feel the fear of losing themselves, and they retreat. They convince themselves that change is unnecessary, that they were fine all along, that questioning everything is dangerous. And so, they return to their old patterns, their old beliefs, their old selves. They choose comfort over truth. And in doing so, they remain children, no matter how old they become. But for those who push through, for those who are willing to let the false self die, something incredible happens. They emerge from the ashes of who they once were, reborn as something new, something real. They stop living for approval. They stop fearing rejection. They stop being controlled by the invisible chains that dictate most people's lives. They no longer react emotionally to things that used to trigger them. They no longer seek meaning in external validation. They no longer see life as something that happens to them, but as something they create with every decision, every thought, every moment of awareness. And that is what it means to truly become an adult. Not just in age, not just in responsibility, but in being. It means you no longer live as a product of the world, you live as an independent force, shaping reality instead of being shaped by it. It means you no longer carry the weight of a false identity, you exist as your true self, unafraid, unshaken, untouchable. The question is, are you willing to go through that transformation? Are you willing to destroy the version of yourself that was built by others, so you can finally become who you were meant to be? Or will you remain in the illusion, mistaking survival for living, mistaking age for wisdom, mistaking fear for truth? Because the moment you see the illusion for what it is, you can never unsee it. And the only way forward is to leave behind everything you once thought you were. The awakening, how to finally take control of your life and become who you were meant to be, there is a moment when everything changes. When you realize, with absolute clarity, that you have been asleep for most of your life, going through the motions, following the script, living by rules you never questioned. You see for the first time how much of your existence has been dictated by fear, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of stepping outside the lines. And in that moment you are faced with a choice: continue living as the version of yourself that was created by others, or take full control and finally become who you were meant to be. Most people will never make this choice. They will feel the weight of the truth pressing down on them, and instead of embracing it, they will run. They will retreat into distraction, into comfort, into the familiar patterns that have kept them stuck for so long. They will convince themselves that it is too late to change, that they are already who they are, that transformation is impossible. But these are lies created by the mind to keep you from stepping into the unknown. And if you believe them, you will spend the rest of your life as a prisoner in a cage of your own making. But for those who refuse to turn back, for those who are willing to confront the terrifying reality that they have never truly been free, something extraordinary happens. They begin to take responsibility for everything. No more blaming circumstances, no more complaining about the past, no more waiting for permission. They realize that every limitation they have ever had was self-imposed, that every excuse they ever made was a choice, that every moment they spent living in fear was a moment they could have used to create something real. And once they see this, they can never go back. Taking control of your life does not mean achieving perfection. It does not mean you will never feel fear or doubt or insecurity. It means you stop letting those things control you. It means you stop living reactively and start living intentionally. It means you set your own standards, define your own path, and refuse to let anyone dictate what you can or cannot do. It means you no longer seek validation because you have given yourself permission to exist exactly as you are. And when you reach this state, when you finally break free from all the conditioning, the programming, the invisible chains that have held you back, you realize something shocking. Most people are still asleep. Most people are still trapped in the illusion of adulthood, playing roles they never chose, sleepwalking through a life they never questioned. And while it would be easy to judge them, you don't, because you understand that waking up is painful, that most people are not ready to face the truth, that the fear of change is often stronger than the desire for freedom. But you are not most people. You are here, reading this, because something inside you refuses to stay asleep, because something inside you has always known that you were meant for more. And now you are faced with the ultimate question: what will you do with this awareness? Will you allow it to fade, to become just another fleeting moment of inspiration? Or will you seize it, use it, let it transform you into something unrecognizable from the person you once were? Because the truth is, the moment you take full control of your life, the moment you stop living for others and start living for yourself, you become something rare, something unstoppable. You become an individual in a world of followers, a creator in a world of consumers, a force in a world of passivity. And once you reach that level, there is no going back. There is only forward into the unknown, into the limitless potential of who you were always meant to be. But the only question that remains is, are you ready?